So, because there are times where we say, man, we can't afford to give to God or for to his cause, when the truth is maybe we purchased, at the top of our budget, and we did not leave any room to give to the God who provides all things for us.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You said it best. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so because I think there are times where we are creating a tension where there probably should not be a tension.
That's exactly right.
When we need to kind of factor that into all of our decision making.
Right. And then, with the new house comes the want for a new car.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got to put something in the driveway.
Got to put something in the driveway.
That's right. That's commensurate with the size of the house.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? This is Pastor Snell, excited to welcome you this Friday night to the Weekend Exhale at BOL. Listen, this week is a Covenant 28 night. Now, for those who don't know what this show is, it's one of our new initiatives designed to empower God's people with the tools that they need to rightly manage the financial assets that God has given them. Now, the theme of this show is Covenant 28. And it's based upon the promise of Deuteronomy chapter 28, where God lays out a whole litany of financial and vocational blessings for those who walk in covenant with him. I want to share with you just a few verses from Deuteronomy chapter 28. God says, "Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you today, that the Lord will set you high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of the Lord your God. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the country. The Lord will command the blessing on you in your storehouses and in all to which you set your hand. He will bless you in the land which is the Lord your God is giving you. The Lord will open to you his good treasure, the heavens, to give you rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And the Lord will make you the head and not the tail, and you shall be above only and not beneath, if you heed the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and are careful to observe them." And so, friends, we believe that these blessings still apply to the people of God. The Bible says through faith, we become Abraham's seed, and we're heirs to his amazing promises. Now, one of the things that happens whenever we talk about money is we get a little squeamish. We get a little bit nervous. But we want to remind you that money is not immoral, it's amoral. So the same money that can be used for bad, the same money can be used to grow God's kingdom and allow the members of the body to be a blessing to those that we encounter along the way. And so one of the things we do want you to know about Covenant 28 is that we do not endorse the love of money. We don't suggest materialism. We don't push you in the direction of being a hoarder or being greedy, but we simply believe that God wants us to walk in great abundance. And so, listen, I'm excited tonight as we get into our conversation this evening. Tonight, we're going to be talking about home ownership and the difference between owning a home and renting a home. And I'm excited to have a very, very special guest with us, Dr. Everett Roper. Dr. Roper is the stewardship leader and the associate treasurer here at the Oakwood University Church. He has a PhD in engineering. He also has an MBA. He works at the Missile Defense System Company here in Huntsville, Alabama, where he oversees some major projects and initiatives. But one of his true passions is real estate. He's a licensed real estate agent here in North Alabama, and he's owned for the last 20 years his own real estate management company. He is well equipped to lead us in this dialogue tonight. He's a spiritual man, a husband, and a father, one of the sharpest brothers I know. Dr. Roper, glad to have you in the house tonight.
Thank you, Pastor. Glad to be here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So listen, man, let's jump all the way into it. But actually, before we do that, tell us a little bit, because even though you're not, I guess, actively working as a financial planner, one of your life's burdens and missions is to really equip people through home ownership, but just through general financial wellness principles. How did you get into that? How did that become a part of your personal DNA?
So I think it started when I started my real estate company. So I was helping individuals purchase homes, get properties that they wanted to rent. And when I started property managing, I would manage properties for individuals who were obviously low income who were renting. A lot of them were part of the Section 8 program or some of the governmental programs. And it was just discouraging to hear and see what they were dealing with. I was managing properties for people who had gotten government assistance for 20, 30 years, who raised their kids, but they were in such a financial crisis they couldn't afford to purchase anything on their own.
Wow.
And I started to say, what is the problem with our people? Why are we having a problem where we think that rental is the only way to go?
The only way,
And so I started to look and investigate ways that I could be a help to individuals. So I talked to some of the tenants and say, you don't have to do this for the rest of your life.
Sure.
There are some opportunities out there. But I was astonished to know that a lot of people didn't even know what one-on-one was. They didn't know where to begin to start purchasing. They thought renting was the only way to go. And so I started to explore and talk to people and just get people one by one off of this burden or off of this rental train that they were on.
Sure.
And so it became a passion of mine.
Man, that's amazing. And you've been doing it now for nearly 20 years? Or
About
a little
25 years.
About 25 years.
About 25 years, yeah.
Man, that's
I've been
crazy.
doing it, yeah.
That's an amazing thing. It's interesting. You and I were talking just before we began recording that, about 44% of African Americans own their own home. And I think we kind of said, man, that's not bad. But then when you look and you see our counterparts, white Americans, our brothers and sisters, about 73% of them own their own home. Do you have any just initial thoughts as to why, home ownership is so low in our community, at least in contrast to the majority here in North America?
Well, I just spoke on lack of knowledge. So,
lack of knowledge. That's where it all begins.
That's where it all begins. A lot of people don't know.
It's amazing because if you only have kind of challenging options, you're going to always make kind of tough choices along the way.
Exactly. The other one, too, however, is what's handed down. Generational wealth.
Gotcha.
So, if I don't have anything handed to me, if I don't have a house handed to me, if I don't have a down payment handed to me, if I don't have the closing costs, anything that can allow an African-American couple or individual to get their own property, they're behind the eight ball. And so they're playing catch up. There's a lot that goes into purchasing a house. We'll talk about that. We'll get into some of that. But the closing costs, the down payment, the maintenance, the taxes. If you don't have a nest egg or credit score, if you don't have anything set up, if you're just living paycheck to paycheck, it's going to be hard for you. Whereas others have a nest egg. Some people get married and their parents say, I'm not going to give you a wedding. I'm not going to pay for your wedding. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars that you can use at your disposal. They go out and buy a house. We don't get that opportunity in most cases. So we don't have those advantages.
So it sounds like in other cultures, there's a little bit of a financial head start, perhaps. That kind of creates maybe that imbalance, or just giving them the tools, even just from a competency standpoint, to say, all right, this is just an expectation. It's not a great triumph.
That's right.
It's not. You're not going above and beyond, but this is really the standard. Home ownership is just kind of part of the culture.
I think it was our president who said he started off with $1 million. I think his dad gave.
Very much.
That's a big head start.
That's a big head start. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's somebody's end goal.
That's exactly right.
To a certain extent.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So as we have the conversation about home ownership, and we've been kind of laying out this question for all of our guests: is home ownership, is it biblical in your mind?
That's a good question.
Or
Pastor.
property ownership?
Yeah, property ownership. My mind goes first to our 10 Commandments.
Okay.
And one of the commandments says in there, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. What does that say to me? That says that God is okay with us owning, right? Just don't covet, right? It's not about having, it's about don't take it from someone else. I'll go further. We think about Job. Job was a wealthy man.
That's the truth.
But Job was always helping those who were less fortunate.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see. We can go to Abraham and Lot. Livestock, cattle, land. So it's not that you're
cooking with grease tonight, man. we see it.
It's not that they had. It was what they did with it. We can shift gears and go to Ananias and Sapphira. We know Ananias, when he sold his property, what did he want to do? He wanted to keep that increase for himself.
Right.
And when we talk about the rich fool, the Bible talks about a rich fool.
That's the truth.
Who wanted to store all into his barns, all that he had, and he didn't want to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
So God doesn't frown, I believe, on what we have. He doesn't frown on having houses and land and livestock, even money. Yeah. It's how we use it. He wants us, it's our heart that God is looking at. So it's important that we recognize that.
And the truth is, wherever your heart is,
yes, sir,
the treasure is going to trail that or
exactly
follow
right.
it. That's what Jesus laid out. It's funny. I think about Deuteronomy 11 and verse 31. When you look at Israel, they were on this sojourn to the promised land after they left Egypt. And God said to them, for you are to cross over the Jordan to take possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And when you possess it, you're supposed to live in it.
That's right.
So I think that's something that's, again, a part of God's plan for his people. And so I think that's something that, we can have that conversation about and really just make it a part of not just a financial value, but a spiritual value in the context of stewardship.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So as we move a little further, so this is one of the questions I want to ask you. So let's just say, tonight we have a young, just starting off, a young professional. Maybe they're just out of school, just out of grad school. They've just moved to, I don't know, Nashville or Atlanta or New York City or maybe Huntsville. Huntsville is a good place you ought to consider coming to live. I mean, cost of living, man. Oakwood Church is here, the whole shebang, right? Should that person kind of try to figure out life a little bit, rent first, or, when you're first starting out, is homeownership something that a young professional should even consider?
Well, that depends. Okay. It's always good to start an answer with it. It depends. Right?
It is. Yeah,
but it really does depend. The first question I would ask is, how long do you plan to remain in Huntsville or the city that you're going to purchase in?
Correct.
What is your career field? For instance, some folk are pastors.
Sure.
They move a lot more.
Yep.
So you don't feel like you're going to be in this city for a long time. You may not want to buy because you don't want to pull this along as you move to another city.
Gotcha.
You're in the military. You're on a temp assignment with your job. Don't have a full-time assignment. You want to consider that. Another thing is you're young, so you're starting out. I know the American dream is for a home. Sure. To own a house and the fence and the dog and the two kids. Yeah. But do you have the financial nest egg to be able to take care of a house? Okay. There's a lot of burden that goes with a house. We talked about it a moment ago. Yeah. It's not just the mortgage versus the rent. Yeah. It's the mortgage, the repairs, the maintenance, the taxes, the insurance. Yeah. All that goes into it. So for a young couple, I would want them to make sure they're financially stable. Okay. They know where they want to be and that they're going to remain there for at least 5 years. I think that's the threshold. 5 years is probably that deciding
At least to be able to draw some equity maybe from the home that they purchased.
Yeah, because the closing costs, you're going to pay closing costs. You want to make sure you can recoup that. You won't recoup that in a year. And it's just going to be a sunk cost at that point. So you want to be able to recoup it. So take your time, look for what you want. And it might be less than 5 years. Yeah. If you say, hey, we're going to be here for the long term, in 1 or 2 years, you might be comfortable. Yeah. But I would say starting off right after marriage, buying a house, that might be a little bit dangerous.
What about, are there any government programs that assist somebody who is a first-time home buyer that may take some of the stress out of the process? Have you seen those kind of programs?
I sure have. It's always good to go with a credit union if you can. So if you have a credit union, they have very good programs that would allow that. I think the most popular one here in Huntsville, Redstone Federal Credit Union, they used to have a 103% financing. That means they'll finance the house 100% plus 3%, which will take care of your closing costs. That's wonderful. First-time home buyers, they look out for them. Banks typically don't do that as much. Yeah. If a bank does it, the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher. A little higher. Yeah. And so you don't really want that. But stick with a credit card. Stick with a credit union. Don't stick with a credit card. Stick with a credit union. But yes, obviously, any type of program that you can find, any type of government assistance that will help you out as a first-time home buyer is a very good thing to do. Okay. I highly recommend that.
So I know this can shift and vary, but I guess as you begin, trying to get financing, is there a time where renting may be preferred based on interest costs, that the banks are providing at a particular time? Or is there a particular threshold we should say, okay, past 7% or 8%, maybe you should hold off, or is that immaterial in the home buying process?
It's a good question, but it depends on the price of the home you're trying to buy.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I want to back up and answer that question this way.
Okay.
If you're young and you have kids or you plan to have kids, you want to factor that into your decision making. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. And no book's going to tell you this, and no credit union's going to tell you this. Yeah. If you are committed to being a faithful tithe payer, tithe and offering payer.
Sure.
If you are committed to Christian education, okay,
correct.
When you're doing your budget and you're figuring out what you're going to have at the end of the month after you pay,
I see where you're going.
You want to make sure that you can handle that mortgage, and handle that tuition, and handle all the things that go with having a house.
Sure.
If you're going to be a faithful steward of God's money. So a lot of folks say the bank will loan you up to, they say 25% is pretty much it.
Sure.
25% of your income you should spend on housing. But let's be careful, because now you're talking about if you have 2 or 3 or 4 kids, I'm not going to tell you how many kids to have, but that tuition cost rises, and that could be the place of a mortgage.
Sure.
So if you have...
That could be. It will be.
Most definitely.
It will be.
So if you and your spouse are more committed to Christian
how many kids you have, I
depending on how many kids you
suppose.
have. If you're committed to Christian education, you might say, you know what? I think we're going to rent for the long haul because we're going to sacrifice home ownership for Christian education for our kids, and then deal with that on the back end once they're grown. So a lot of people have done that, and I can't frown on that. So we have to be very careful when we say, hey, this is the rubric or this is the threshold. After this, do the other. Look long term. See what your plans are.
So, you got me thinking, because even as you talk about, the need to bring into consideration your stewardship and obligation to God. Now, again, you are a stewardship person. It's one of the values that you live and embody. So, because there are times where we say, man, we can't afford to give to God or for his cause, when the truth is maybe we purchased, at the top of our budget, and we did not leave any room to give to the God who provides all things for us.
That's exactly right. You said it best. That's exactly right.
So because I think there are times where we are creating a tension where there probably should not be a tension.
That's exactly right.
When we need to kind of factor that into all of our decision making.
Right. And then, with the new house comes the want for a new car.
Right?
Because you got to put something in the driveway.
Got to put something in the driveway.
That's right. That's commensurate with the size of the house. And so a lot of people fall into that trap as well. Then you find out they can't take vacations. They can't repair the house. They can't improve the house. And before they know it,
all the repairs are completely on you.
That's exactly right. Everything's on you at that point.
Man, do you have any thoughts? I know I'm going off script a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
You talked about buying a car.
Right.
Driving a used car versus having a car payment. Any thoughts, insight on that?
It's the only way I operate. I buy used cars all the time. Yes, the value of a car, they say a value of a car drops as soon as you drive it off the lot, right?
As soon as you leave the lot.
As soon as you leave the lot.
Lord have mercy.
And you can look that up and see that. Let's be honest. We pretty much, a lot of people choose their cars for status, right? For style. Not just
for
transportation.
functionality.
Exactly. Because you could drive almost anything. And that's okay. That's fine. We do our clothes the same way. And that's okay.
Everyone has their preference.
That's exactly right. But you want to make sure, and this goes back to establishing a budget. You want to make sure you and your spouse sit down and say, look, we want to drive X, but we might have to drive A, right? Because we can't afford to get to X. Because we have commitments to Operation Stretch. We have commitments to our tithe, our offering, to Oakwood Adventist Academy or whatever you're boarding, or even Oakwood University. You're paying for college or grad school for your kids. What is your goal? What is your mission? Each couple should have a mission, have a goal, set that goal, and then you can back into the other things that are less important.
So, you mentioned something in terms of how we, maybe purchase cars for the sake of status, not just functionality. Right. What is it sometimes in us that really wants to have the appearance of success or affluence? Where do you think that comes from, and how do we conquer that? I know that's deep waters, but
that's not deep. I just want to be careful.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
No, I think it's we call it looking at the Joneses, right? You want to keep up with
keeping
the
up with the Joneses
and making sure that you're able to be in their circle and all that. If we can get over that, Pastor, if we can get over that, I think we could do a lot better. I've driven luxury vehicles before, and I've driven pickup trucks. My preference is a pickup truck all day long.
All day long. Huh?
And people can't understand.
I see you in the pickup every day.
I love my pickup truck
on the weekends,
and that's a newer pickup truck than I had before. I had a 25-year-old pickup truck.
Sure.
Where I work on Redstone Arsenal, and I can't tell you how many pickup trucks I see on the Arsenal. And I'm talking about older pickup trucks. Now, I don't know what everyone's salary is, but you would think that there would be luxury cars all over the Arsenal, all over. You look at even doctors' offices and hospitals and things.
Correct.
what tends to happen is the more money people make, a lot of times they spend less on the things that are seen on the outside.
Sure. Yeah.
However, those who don't make as much tend to spend more on things that are shown on the outside.
Yeah.
And so we have to come to grips with understanding that if I'm going to be a good steward, I need to be a good steward in the things I purchase, as well as the things I invest in, as well as the things that I support.
Yeah.
And so I always try to be careful with that. I tell my kids, we have a saying in our house, when they got their first job, I said, don't eat your money.
Come on now.
Now, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, I would see my daughters come in with Chick-fil-A bags like every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're making minimum wage, but you're going to Chick-fil-A. So you're working for an hour and spending that money to eat it.
Wow.
And you eat it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I said, baby, you're working
You got a house
hard.
full of food right there in the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we say.
Yeah.
You can come in the kitchen and open and eat anything you want. And once they started to get that, it took a little while. Once they started to get that, they realized, I'm standing on my feet for an hour working.
Yeah.
And I'm eating it in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. Wow.
And we have to come to the grips where we say that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Am I really, is this a wise decision to make this purchase?
Yeah.
What is it hurt? How is it hurting me in the long run?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because you look at maybe a Mark Zuckerberg or maybe a Steve Jobs, before his demise, or Bill Gates. It's funny, these are probably individuals who are in that wealthiest 1%.
Yes.
But when you look at them, or just at least their public persona,
can't tell.
They're not wearing it. They're not. It's not for display.
That's right.
It's just clear that that's not. Because people say, well, if I had this much money, this is what I would do. But the truth is, if that's not a value for you,
that's right.
Even when you got that much money, that's
right.
not how you would spend it. That's not
exactly
how you would prioritize it.
I've heard it said some of the wealthiest people in the world are farmers.
Our farmers, yeah, that's true.
What do farmers wear?
Yep, overalls, good old
pickup
pair of boots.
truck,
Yeah.
And they hang out in the mud, right?
Well, it's so funny because they say people, there's sometimes people say, well, money changes a person.
Yes.
When that's probably not true. Money just reveals who that person already is.
That's exactly right.
And what those values always have been. Money just gives you permission to announce it to the world, I guess,
exactly
in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. I love that because I do believe that if we can just really, curate that desire to appear successful or appear well off, and to just really invest in being successful or fruitful, and kind of having that inner wellness, I think those outside decisions would begin to mirror that state of mind.
And what I always say, I don't know how long it takes you to get to work, but it takes me probably 12 minutes to get to work.
Yeah.
If I'm driving a $200,000 vehicle, and I got to drive 12 minutes and park it.
Yeah, wow.
Is it really worth it?
Is that, yeah.
Because after I get off work, I got to drive 12 minutes back home and park it in the garage.
Yeah, yeah.
So unless I'm a driver around the city from neighborhood to neighborhood so everyone sees me, is the value really worth it?
Wow, that's a powerful statement. Yeah. And it's interesting because the cost of vehicles now, it can almost be a mortgage payment depending on the size of your home or, age, so on and so forth.
Most definitely.
So let me ask you a quick question. So, as somebody begins, actually, let me pivot. Let me hold that for a second. Any thoughts on somebody who's maybe contemplated not just purchasing a home, but purchasing land? And maybe they may use it for a home down the line, or decide to kind of land bank, or keep it in the family. Any thoughts on that, just as a means of growing wealth or just kind of moving their generation forward?
Yeah, land is an excellent investment opportunity, but there's two things you got to understand with land.
Okay.
The first one is it's a long-term investment.
Right.
It's slow growing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy land today to sell it tomorrow, like some people do houses, flipping houses, land is not something you want to do that for.
Gotcha.
You want to buy land because you see something happening in the future, and that's where you want to build later.
Okay.
Or you want to invest. Some people do buy land to rent it out to farmers, that type of thing. But the investment is just not there.
Not there.
The second thing is, it takes a long time, I should say. The second thing is it's a little bit more expensive to purchase land.
Gotcha.
Banks see that as investment, and so what they do is they require more down. They'll require you to put 20% down, and they'll finance 80%. And the interest rate's higher.
On land than on a house?
On land than on a house, yes. So what you'll find is if you want to get some good land, you want to get a piece of land, and you find this land, now I got to put down more out of my pocket, and I got to pay a higher interest rate, and it's not going to grow as fast as even putting that money in the bank would grow. So a lot of people say, don't worry about land. Land will always be there. So why not put that money in the bank, let it grow, and then 20 years from now when I'm ready to build, buy some land. Now, that works. I agree with that principle. But if you have an area that you really like, there's a city that you really like. Let's talk Huntsville. 25 years ago.
Sure.
If we would have all bought a piece of land in Huntsville 25 years ago,
it
would be worth quite a bit. We didn't know back then, right?
Sure.
So if you have a foresight that this is where I'm going to retire, or this is where I want to live, I like this area for whatever reason, land is a good investment for that.
Gotcha.
But once again, this goes back to that budget and that conversation of make sure that it fits into your budget.
Yeah.
Because it's something going to carry with you for a long time.
Okay.
And make sure as a young couple, make sure your house, your car, your tuition, all that stuff is taken care of.
Sure.
And then treat that as an investment for long-term gain.
So you got to be a lot more forward thinking.
That's exactly right.
When you talk about owning land.
That's correct.
Y'all, listen, owning versus renting, this is an age-old debate. This is a discussion that has been had for quite some time, and I'm glad that we're getting right down to the nitty-gritty with our host and our guest today on Covenant 28. Now, all of that said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure the notification bell is on. Leave a comment in the chat as well. Tag a friend and share it. Let's get back to the discussion.
So, somebody is going to buy a home. Usually that involves them engaging the services of a real estate agent. For somebody who may be buying a home for the first time, what are you looking for in a real estate agent besides a license? What are the questions that need to be asked? What are you looking for in their references? A lot of times it is a referral. It's who you know in some ways, shape or form in a small community like Huntsville. But, for somebody who is just, okay, I'm stepping into this space, I'm contemplating it, what do I need to be looking for in a real estate agent?
That's a very good question, Pastor. So right before COVID, housing in Huntsville was growing. I'm just going to use Huntsville. I know this goes worldwide, but I'm going to use Huntsville as an example.
Yep.
And what happened was a lot of folk were getting into the real estate market. They wanted to become realtors.
Yeah.
And the number of realtors increased by about 75%. People going out, taking the exam, becoming a realtor, because what they saw was the commission, right?
Yeah.
They were looking at the commission. It's an opportunity for me to make another income. The challenge there is if you look at it just as commission, it'll be cutthroat.
Gotcha.
I mean, you're just fighting.
Yep.
You're talking about each other. You're fighting with each other. You're undercutting each other.
Yeah.
I would want to work with someone who has integrity. Right.
Gotcha. Right.
I'm not trying to work with someone that is just trying to sell me the first house.
Sell me the first. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the one. You want to take it right away. Let's sign this contract right away.
Yeah.
So I have the good friends in our church, good friends in different churches, good friends that I know in the city. I never will play myself against them.
Gotcha.
I will always say that someone is doing an excellent job. If they're doing their job, that's their job.
Gotcha.
I'm not here to compare. So if I'm looking for
So anybody that tears down the competition,
I don't tear
that's
down
kind of a red
that's
flag.
A red flag. If they're going to tell you don't use so-and-so because I heard this, I stay away from those kind of people.
Okay.
You want someone that's going to be honest with you.
Okay.
And so I tend to want to stick with someone that I know is a Christian.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to stick with someone who's a Christian. I want someone that's going to take their time and show me various houses. Don't narrow it down to one or two.
Right.
Because you don't know what they're thinking when they narrowed it down to those one or two. It could be higher commission for them. They could know the owner.
Yeah.
They could have some vested interest in that property. So I look at those things.
So you want to avoid conflicts.
Oh, you want to
where
avoid conflicts.
they are at a conflict that may work toward your disadvantage.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I definitely want them to be patient. I definitely want them to be patient.
Gotcha.
Now, real estate is a tough market, very tough market.
Sure.
And so in order to make it, sometimes you just have to be ruthless. And so sometimes people feel that they have to be ruthless. Let me say you have to. They feel they have to be ruthless and they have to push you to do things hard and do things quick.
Yeah.
I don't operate that way.
Gotcha.
I don't encourage anyone to operate that way. This is a big purchase, the largest purchase you probably ever make in your life.
For most people.
For most people. So you want to be able to take your time and choose the person that you want. You want them to take their time and show you houses. And then you walk into that together. And you want to feel comfortable with that person that you have.
Man, that's some really good insight. I don't know. Is there a place where real estate agents are evaluated and you can kind of see, kind of how they tend to deal with people?
That's a good question. I think it's like physicians, right?
Yeah.
It's word of mouth.
Word of mouth, pretty much.
It's usually what people say. It's dinner table conversation and references, and that's just the way it goes. I try to be honest. I don't try to be honest. I am honest all the time.
Yep.
Integrity. My character should always show.
Yep.
And then I don't have to put up billboards. And I don't have to advertise. Or there's a gentleman that says one house sold every couple of minutes. That type of thing. What kind of customer service are you getting with that type of relationship? So I just try to be honest, integrity. Use those things. I think anyone that's looking for a house, whether you're trying to invest, whether you're looking for land, whether you're looking for something for your home, for your family. You want to use that. I think you want to use that as your philosophy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Find somebody who's honest.
I love that. If a person is looking for a home, and this is a little bit general. I know you can't speak to every specific scenario. What matters more in terms of maintaining value of a house and seeing that value ascend? Is it location? Is it square footage? Is it, new build versus old? What are those kind of things that, somebody should be a part of, should be making a part of the rubric for their decision making?
There's a lot of builders that build around the country.
Yeah.
And they build cookie cutter houses.
Yeah.
If you know the cookie cutter houses, you drive in and every house looks the same.
The same, correct.
They can build that thing probably in a month. The quality and workmanship is poor.
Okay.
If you want to have something that's going to appreciate when it's time to sell it, people want to be in that neighborhood, you want to find a good quality builder. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but a good quality builder is the way to go.
Okay.
There are a lot of areas where builders can actually save themselves a lot of money. And I don't want to go into specifics here, but you want to be very careful that you get a good builder. And a good real estate agent will point you to those areas.
Okay.
So this goes back to the question you had earlier. Should a young couple purchase a home? A lot of times, because a young couple doesn't have a lot of income, they end up having to go with the cheaper, in terms of quality and price, houses.
Yeah.
When they get in there after a year, things have fallen apart.
Yeah.
The warranty is voided. It was only a 6-month warranty as opposed to a 5-year.
Yeah.
And so you end up having more expense. Now it's trying to sell it. You can't get it sold, and you have more hassle.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that a good realtor would help you with. Stay away from that builder.
Yeah.
Definitely won't call any names here, but there are a lot of them. They come in,
Sure.
they come into a city, they build in a few subdivisions, and then they get out of the city.
Get out. Yeah.
And before you know it, the subdivision's falling apart.
Yeah.
So you want to be very careful that you find a quality builder, that you want to maintain your home. That's your responsibility. Now, when you buy a house, it's not the builder's problem anymore.
Yeah.
After that warranty's done, it's not the builder. A lot of people say,
and on a new build, you get like the 11-month, 12-month warranty.
That's exactly right. That's it.
That's it. It's yours.
And the gutter's falling off. It was a terrible builder. What am I supposed to do now? I'm calling him. He won't answer the phone. Well, that's the way it goes. It's now your responsibility. And a lot of people fall into that trap. And you drive through some neighborhoods, and the houses are falling apart because people don't have the income to be able to maintain their home. And so that's some of the challenges that you face. But you go with a quality builder, a lot of times their warranty is longer because they want that neighborhood to look better longer.
Yeah.
Because now when people drive through, they say, wow, these houses still look great.
Yeah.
They were built 10 years ago. They still look good.
Yeah.
And that helps them now when they're going to build another subdivision or another subdivision.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there a thought in terms of value long-term, newer house versus older house?
Not really. I think it's like cars.
Okay.
You can find a good used house, no problem. In fact, I would highly recommend that. A lot of people, when they're selling a house, they have more wiggle room because you can find someone who's desperate, trying to get out of town, trying to sell.
Yeah.
So I would definitely try to stay. When I'm looking for a house for people, I always look between 10 years and younger.
Gotcha.
And we can go with a new build. New build has its pros. We all know, like a new car.
Yep.
You get the new car smell. We all want that.
Sure.
But you're going to pay a little bit more for that. So why not try to find something where and you also find that sometimes people buy a house, they stay in it for 3 or 4 years, they had to move, but they've done some upgrades. They've done some things.
Yeah.
And they probably priced themselves out of the subdivision, so they add a pool or they add a sunroom.
Yeah.
And they get an appraisal. The appraisal can't factor that in because no other house has those things. And so those
It's going to be
things,
square footage based on the area.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so they can't recoup that. And so you find yourself, sometimes you get a gold mine and say, man, they added this stuff on, but they can't get it back. They can't recoup it. So I've had several situations where that's happened. So I like used homes. I really do.
I like that. So let me ask you this. So let's just say, again, the person falls in that category where they purchase their home, maybe for work purposes or lifestyle or retirement. They're relocating to another area. Any thoughts on selling the house outright versus becoming a landlord and renting or leasing that particular property and just holding on to it?
You know, the hardest, the most challenging times I've had in real estate is not with people buying or selling. It's with people renting their house.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
We're not all cut out to be renters.
Not everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we can't understand the philosophy of someone destroying something that we love.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I say destroy, I don't mean they're knocking the walls down, but just a nick in the wall drives you crazy because that used to be your bedroom.
Your bedroom.
Or that used to be your daughter's room.
Yeah.
And how could they not fix the gutters that are falling down? How dare them do that? How dare they do that? And so a lot of people are emotional if the rent is late. Although when we were paying, we were late sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
Now you want yours on time.
Right.
And if they're late, if they're late, they'll contact me and say, on the 6th day, I want you to send them a letter and start the eviction process.
Right.
And I say, okay, let's relax a little bit. They're dealing with something's going on. We can send them a letter. So a lot of people get emotional.
Yeah.
They want something done quickly.
Yeah.
They don't want to make repairs. If the toilet stopped up, it has to be their fault.
Yep.
So I'm not going to repair that.
Sure.
And I don't want to go into full details, but so renting has its challenges. So to answer the question, make sure you can handle the pros and cons of renting.
Gotcha.
The pro is always income. Everybody knows that if I rent my house, I can get X amount of dollars.
Sure.
There is some negative.
Gotcha.
I don't know about you, Pastor. When we go out of town, me and my family, I like to rent cars.
Yeah.
I usually rent a minivan so we have more room.
Gotcha.
When I get there, they
know
make
what
me
you're saying.
walk around the car
Yep.
to make sure there's no dents.
Yep.
I check it to make sure it's clean.
Yep.
My wife will come and say, no, this one smells like smoke. Get another one.
Yeah.
And we'll get another one.
Yeah.
When we get the van we want, we drive off.
Yep.
I don't wash it.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't check the oil.
Oil, nothing.
I don't check I don't put Armor All on the tires.
Yeah.
The girls eat popcorn in there.
yeah,
We have bags in there. When I turn it in, I just turn it in.
And I don't even see speed bumps. I just
That's right.
roll right over them. Yeah.
You just roll. You just roll with it. So that's how someone is going to treat your house.
Yeah.
If you can't handle that, like you treat a rental car, don't even do it.
Yeah.
Don't even do it. So it's better to sell.
Yeah. Ever since I moved here from Lexington in 2010, our first home we purchased there, we've been renting it for really ever since then.
Right.
And everything you said is prophetically true. And you have to really kind of remove the emotion from it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's our first home and
Right.
Jaden was born there and all that stuff, and just see it as a property, and it's their space while they're in it. So.
And you're gonna have months of lack, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have months where 6 months you're getting your rent, everything's going well.
Yep.
And you're gonna have 3 months where the water heater's gonna go out.
Yeah.
Where the HVAC is going to act up, the
all
plumbing's
back to
going to go
back
up.
to back. Yep.
And you're going to say, what are they doing wrong? They must be doing something wrong. It's their fault. We need to get them out of there. But you just got to figure that there's going to be times of plenty, times of lack.
Yeah.
And
It's amazing how things reach the end of their life cycle.
Yes.
Around the same time.
Around the same time,
Those things that you talked about,
water
like,
heater,
water heater, HVAC, roof,
That's right. That's right.
dishwashers,
That's
all those
exactly
things.
right.
So, you're going to have those 7 fat years, and then you'll have those lean years as well.
Those lean years are coming.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
got it. Let me ask you this, just for somebody who's thinking about the idea, one of the trends of our time is using your home as a short-term residential space, Airbnb, Verbo, all that stuff. Any thoughts on that? Because I see a lot of people saying it seems like a really way to make a quick, make quick income. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know that Airbnbs have faced a tough time over the past couple years.
Yeah.
I think the government has cracked down
a little bit,
and taxed them harder, put more restrictions on them. And I know a lot of friends that have gotten out of it.
Yeah. A lot of subdivisions have even outlawed it as well.
That's exactly right. So I am not going to sit on here and say that I don't agree with them without having requisite knowledge of everything that goes into them.
Gotcha.
But I will say that I've had more friends and associates tell me that they're getting away from them.
Gotcha.
But I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. Maybe there's something positive about them that I don't know.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So as we're getting close, getting ready to to land the plane, I did want to ask the question about having a strategy for being able to accelerate the payoff of a home. So of course we kind of use the term home ownership, but really until you paid off that 20 or 30 year mortgage, you don't own it. Right. belongs to the bank.
Right.
And I think that, I guess when we look at amortization, how it works, depending on the way you structured your loan and down payment for the first several years, you could be paying pretty much just interest and not even really touching your loan at all, or very little. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on developing a strategy for being able to accelerate the payoff of a home? Because I think if you actually looked at the price of your home and your monthly payments, you would probably pay that off within maybe 10 or 15 years. Right. But probably half of what you're paying is interest. Am I right in that formula generally?
You're definitely right. So,
okay.
A 30-year mortgage, and I'm not even going to speak about California. Okay. So let me veer off for a moment.
Yeah. All our West Coast states, y'all
all
in a category all by yourself.
There are folk in California who will never own a home.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford to own a home. Mm-hmm. We have 30-year and 15-year mortgages here on the East Coast, in the South.
Yeah.
Out in some cities, they have 50-year mortgages.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, if you purchase your first home at 25 years old, and that's a blessing.
Yeah.
You're going to be 75 years old before you pay that thing off.
Wow.
You're paying that thing off, paying for 50 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me back into the answer to the question. You want to pay off your house as soon as possible.
Sure.
Now, if you're young, 25, 30, you just got married, you want to buy a home, I fully suggest getting a 30-year mortgage.
Gotcha. Okay.
I fully suggest. Now, somebody's cringing right now saying, how could he advise them to get a 30-year mortgage?
Sure.
Let me tell you why. Get a 30-year mortgage because you're at the beginning of your life in housing.
Yep.
Pay that mortgage each month, but identify ways that you could pay a little bit more to the principal.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you can do that for 5, 10 years, let me give an example. And I think this is on the top of my head because I did the math on this and I use this. If you had a $300,000 house with a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest,
right, and
you put, I think it's $200 or $250 a month in addition each month, you would pay off your home 6 to 7 years faster and save $70,000 in interest.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Wow.
So now you go from a 30-year mortgage to a 23-year mortgage. Now, you can do that on your own by just putting a little bit extra.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend get a 30-year mortgage, and you may not be able to put $200 or $250 initially.
Sure.
But at work, when you get a bonus every year, if you get a bonus, when you get a bonus, apply that.
Apply that. Yeah.
At Christmas time, somebody gives you a check for $500. Somebody, a family member, gives you some cash.
Yeah.
Apply it to the principal on that loan.
Gotcha. Yeah.
After 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, your salary should increase.
Sure.
Okay, you're making more money. You should be able now to put 100, 200. But even if it doesn't increase, maybe something else is going on. But maybe you can approach the bank and say, I'm making more money now. I'd like to convert this to a 15-year.
Okay.
And when you see the amortization schedule for a 15-year versus a 30-year mortgage, you can pay that thing off in lightning speed.
Wow.
Because the interest that you're paying on a 30-year mortgage, like you said, it's front-loaded.
Yeah.
So if I'm just going to use round figures. If you're paying a mortgage of $1,000 a month, and that first month after you move into the house, I would argue that about $700 to $800 of that is going to interest, and $200 is going to the principal.
Sure.
So that's why we say if you could put an additional $200 on top of that, $200 that's going to principal, you're actually paying $400, which is equal to the interest.
Gotcha.
And you'll catch up faster. And so you want to be able to do that every month if you can. Starting off, you probably won't be able to. So try to do it at the end of the year or when you get a bonus at work.
Gotcha.
After 2 or 3 or 4 years, your salary's increased, hopefully. Something has gone on in your life where maybe your wife has got an increase or you've got an increase or something has happened. Then you want to go to approach the bank and say, can I convert this to a 15-year? When you get that 15-year, start the same thing. Pay that 15-year mortgage. But if you can put a little extra, go ahead and do it.
Gotcha.
And before you know it, you'll find that you purchased this house at age 25 that was going to be a 30-year mortgage.
Sure.
And by the time you're 50 or 45, you've paid it off.
And that's still a very young person.
That's still a very young person.
And that gives you a tremendous boost toward retirement years.
That's exactly right.
If you've been without a mortgage for 20 years before you retire.
Paying your monthly mortgage benefits the bank.
Yeah.
They've done the math. They know they've factored it all in. They know the interest rate. They know how to expect your money, when to expect your money.
Yeah.
What you need to do is find a way to benefit yourself. And the way to benefit yourself is pay more towards the principal, not the interest.
Yeah.
Make sure, and I want to make sure I mention this. Make sure that when you go and sign that closing paperwork, Some loans will not allow you to pay early payments.
Yep, I've seen that. Yep.
If they will not,
some of the government loans are that way.
Exactly
They're
right.
structured that way.
You want to try to stay away from those because you want to pay that thing off as fast as you can.
Gotcha. A couple final quick questions. Let's just say somebody has made some mistakes in their early financial development. Credit score is a little banged up.
Right.
How does somebody go about repairing a credit score? What's the best way to approach that?
I would first get a handle on my finances.
Okay.
You need a budget, obviously. Okay. So get a handle on my finances. What caused my credit score to go bad? Was it something in the past or was it something current?
Sure.
If it's something in the past, you could talk to the credit lenders and get some of that removed slowly.
Okay.
Or they'll tell you how many years it'll take for it to be removed. Okay.
Gotcha.
That's the past. If it's something current, then we got to get out of that quickly.
Yeah.
If you have high credit card debt, you got to get out of that quickly.
Yeah.
If there is multiple credit cards, you got to consolidate them.
Got it.
So the more debt we have spread out, the worse it is.
Yeah.
And then the higher it is, the worse it is.
Okay.
Okay. So we want to pull it in.
Yep.
And we want to pay it off as fast as possible.
Okay.
Now, you can listen to Dave Ramsey, you can listen to others that'll tell
Sure.
you pay the highest one first, pay the lowest one first. It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
You want to eliminate those things as fast as you can. Now, what that means is you and your spouse might have to have a tough conversation.
Yeah.
Babe, we're gonna eat.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat a little bit different than we
Sure.
have. We're not
Gotcha.
gonna eat out as much
Yep.
for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years, so we can get healthy. Because if you're not healthy now and you're not healthy in 5 years, it's just gonna continue to spiral downhill. If you just pay the minimum,
Powerful stuff, Doc.
if you just pay the minimum payment on your credit card, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
You're treading water, man. You're treading water. The boat's not moving. And so you got to find a way, just like paying your mortgage off fast, you got to find a way to pay extra, get above and beyond. And the credit card companies love when you pay the minimum balance.
love it, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
pay the minimum. That's what they tell you. It's $28, it's $50. They give you a low minimum balance
Yeah.
because they know they got you on the interest side.
Yeah.
We don't like interest. Interest is a good word
Yeah.
when we're receiving it.
Right.
It's a bad word when we're giving
When
it
you're
away.
paying it away.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So lastly, real quick, is that you own a home, there's somebody who owns a home. What are things that perhaps may add real value to the home, or what are the things that some people do thinking they're adding value to the home, but at the end of the day, it won't really show up in a resale scenario?
Very good.
Are there any real things that add value, or is it pretty much square foot based on the neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera?
Very good. It is square foot based on the neighborhood, but you want to be careful, even in square foot based on the neighborhood, that you don't put in top of the line things throughout, or knock out walls and add things.
Okay.
Let's use a good example. If none of the houses in your subdivision have a screened-in sunroom, a skating rink in the backyard, or a 50,000 square foot pool,
Yeah.
you can't expect when it's time to sell
Right.
that although the average in that subdivision is 300,000, you're going to get $1 million.
Sure.
It doesn't work. Appraisers
Yeah.
don't work that way.
Right.
They don't give you the value of your house based on what's in it. They give you the value of the house, like you said,
Yeah.
based on the square footage of that subdivision.
Sure.
So a lot of people say, well, this is not fair. I've done so much. Look at what I've added. I have receipts.
Yep.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great. But that won't do any good for you.
Gotcha.
So make sure before you add things that you're not adding gold
Yeah.
to your house,
Yeah.
right? Because you
Yeah.
may not get that gold back.
Won't get it back.
You
Yeah.
won't get it back. And so you want to be careful. Look at that. You also want to make sure that the subdivision is growing
Okay.
and it's not going backwards.
Yeah.
All right. All of our subdivisions get old. Right?
Yeah.
You don't think so. You think your house is going to be beautiful and it's going to be the best subdivision in the city. They're always building another one.
Sure.
And so people are moving out of your subdivision
Yep.
to probably get to some of those other subdivisions.
Other ones. Yeah.
And so your subdivision is going to get older and the value of the house is going to increase. And here's something people don't realize. When you hear people say, man, my property is increasing, we're doing
Yeah.
well. When your property is increasing, guess what the government is doing? The local government is increasing property taxes as well.
Simultaneously. Yeah.
So when you get your property tax bill,
Yeah.
you say, why are we paying twice as much or 25% as much or 30% as much?
Yeah.
Because you got happy when you saw the value increasing, but your value increased because your property value was increasing as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we have to look at all those factors. It's not as simple as just looking at your house. You got to look at all those factors when you're considering as well.
Okay. Well, listen, as we wrap, just for that person maybe who, this conversation is, at least got some thoughts germinating and got them thinking in a certain direction. Maybe they're still a little pensive or nervous about stepping out or beginning the home purchasing process. Can you look in that camera and maybe just share a word of admonition or encouragement with them as they're prayerfully walking through this mentally?
Yeah, I would obviously establish a budget with you. If you're single, establish a budget and make sure that you factor in the things not only that are current, but things in the future, right? That you're going to want to do or that you're planning to do. If you're married, sit down with your spouse. I said it before. Get a mission together. What is our goal? What is our mission for the future? Honey, what do we want? What are we going to do for the kids? Are you paying for your kids' undergraduate education as well as their graduate education? If one thinks one way and one thinks the other, that's going to be discord there. So you got to get on the same page to make sure. And finally, make sure you talk to someone that is knowledgeable about what you're trying to do. So make sure you understand the environment. Make sure you're factoring your budget into that, and make sure you're prayerful, obviously. Make sure God is in it. Make sure you and your spouse are on the same page. And you'll find that this is really something you can navigate if you just take it slowly. It's investment, right? Yeah. So you're not going to turn in one day. It's not going to turn around where you're just doing glamorously okay. So there's going to be some risk. There's going to be some downtime. There's going to be some good years of plenty like we talked about. Yeah. But trust God through the process, and I think you'll be fine.
Man, excellent, man. This has been powerful. It's been rich. It's been practical. And I think it really spoke to the experience of all people, no matter where you are on the home purchasing spectrum.
Yeah, praise God.
Dr. Roper, if somebody wanted to, follow up with you, get some additional counsel, connect with you, or maybe they're even, considering, relocating here to Huntsville and they want to connect with somebody that has some expertise, how can they connect with you?
I think they should contact the church office. Right?
Okay.
So I'm the stewardship director at the church, so I'll be more than happy to help you there. The reason I say the church office is I have a pool of people on my stewardship team, right? I have a financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor, right? I have passion for this.
Sure.
But someone who has expertise in this, like I said, I'm not trying to hog this or keep it to myself. I want you to get the requisite knowledge that you need. And then if you have real estate needs, I can help you there. So contact the church, ask for me. They know how to contact me, and I'll put you in touch with the right people that can help you along the way.
All right, there. So the information for the church is coming up there on the screen, and you'll be able to follow up with Dr. Roper or those who work along with him in partnership. Again, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I know your schedule is heavy and busy, but I believe that the things that you shared are going to push the kingdom forward and bless a lot of people along the way.
Praise God.
So listen, everybody, we thank you all so much for joining us for this weekend's edition of Covenant 28. We're praying that the things that you heard tonight, that they stirred your thinking, that they were fertilizer for thought, and that maybe it equipped you. But more than anything, I'm praying that you got energized and that you got encouraged to make a bold step of faith. And so do me a favor before you get ready to log off tonight. If you don't mind, be a digital disciple, be an Apple apostle, be an electronic evangelist. Even if you got the Android anointing, you can still help. If you're on YouTube, copy the link, send it to somebody, send it to 2 or 3 somebodies so that they might be blessed as well, so that they can continue to grow in the values of the kingdom. Again, we thank you so much for joining us for Covenant 28. Again, this is not so that we can learn how to hoard or be materialistic. We want to be generous, powerful stewards of that which God has trusted to our care. We want to be able to use our resources to be able to grow God's kingdom in the process, not just our personal comforts. So I'm praying that you have a wonderful Friday, a great weekend, a tremendous Sabbath rest, and we look forward to seeing you next weekend on the Weekend Exhale with BOL. God bless.
We should each have a page of notes at this point. Such a great conversation. So many nuggets of wisdom that are shared. So many resources over and above just the content of owning versus renting, but also just looking at financial literacy as a whole. Make sure you bookmark this one, right? This could be a resource, could be something you go back to, you refer to for that young person that's in your life, for that recent grad, or the couple that's getting married. This is a great conversation for them to be able to refer back to. I want to invite you right now to hit that subscribe button. Breath of Life is a platform that is dedicated to ensure we have these kinds of conversations. Yes, we are all about the Christian and the believer, but Christians and believers have real life situations and scenarios that we deal with as well, just like financial literacy. And we're excited for what we're discussing here with Covenant 28. We'll see you next time on the Weekend Exhale with BOL.